I have an important question for you this morning. If you could do one thing, just one thing, and take one step to improve your life today, what would that be? That was the question that was being posed about a decade ago in Phoenix when I was sitting in a conference called Celebrate Your Life, where we came to quite obviously find a way to develop a life worth celebrating. We were in a room with about 1,000 people. It was being led by Liz Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And the overwhelming answer to that question broke my heart. It made me sad. What do you think it was? The answer to that question from most of the 1,000 people in that room was, I would quit my soul-sucking job. That was the word. I was like, wow. The thing that gives us that economic freedom determines so much about our lives is sucking the soul right out of us. I got on my flight the next day to Kingston, Jamaica, where I was living at the time, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I went to conferences, I talked to people, I talked to other CEOs and presidents. I thought, we have to do something about this. So I come up with 3 things. First one, this is a very important topic, and we've seen the last 2 years how people will choose if we don't fix the world of work. And the second one was, the reason it was sucking the soul out of people is because how power was exhibiting itself, and that we needed a new model for leadership. And if we change the world of work, we would change the world. Is that powerful? Change the world of work, and we change the world. So this concept of power, you know, I'm attached to it a lot of different ways, right? As a leader of an energy company for 30 years. But power in the world of work can destroy things. But I would submit to you today that it is the solution too. So we've come up with a new leadership model called Think Love, and I'm going to go through that with you today because I think that's the answer. That's the leadership model that can make a world of work a place we want to go to that uplifts us. So first, true self. I was a little girl in West Virginia. My dad was a coal miner, and some people said I talked funny. So I went to Manhattan, which, by the way, is in New York City, which I didn't know when I moved there. So the first thing I got when I went there was an assignment. 3 days a week, accent reduction lessons. And I didn't think it mattered to me. Okay, I'm gonna go learn to say steal and steal and still, you know, however way you say E and I. And I learned to, back in the day, wear glasses so I'd look older. That's taking care of itself now. But I was so impressed when my new boss came and got the bill for that. Wasn't cheap. So what is this? I said, well, it's my accent reduction lessons. And he said, Kelly, he's from the Bronx. It's true, when you open your mouth, some people might think you're stupid, but in 2 sentences later, they'll change their mind. We're not paying for this. You're good just like you are. I want you to hear that. You're good just like you are. You're perfect just like you are. And in our world right now,
it's so hard to be just who you are.
Because we're encouraged to look like everybody else, to talk like everybody else. There's this model. Back in my high school, there was 3 people to be jealous of. Today, there's 3 billion, because you can see them on every social media. And we as leaders are not spending time. We don't have it in our calendars, because true self can't be exhibited if you don't know who you are. And most of the leaders that I've had to part ways with wasn't because they're smart enough, it was because they didn't know who they were. So let's focus on being and having the courage to be who we are. Because when we do that, we give the invitation for others to be who they are, and we start healing the world of work. And after we do that, we can start talking about why are we even here? Simon Sinek made this popular. Why are we even doing this thing? If you go to a thing 8 to 10 hours a day and there's no meaning for you, I think it will suck the soul right out of you. And I'm not talking about lofty meanings. I'm talking about bringing a sense of purpose to the world of work. I've never been more happy if somebody says to me, what are you doing, mechanic? I'm fixing this machine. He's not fixing the machine. He's making sure all of you have power, that you feel safe in your homes, that when you turn on things, things work. And when your kids are trying to do homework, they can do it when there's a pandemic. But we, and especially leaders, have to remind ourselves, because we have devalued people so much that that meaning has to be exhibited in language, like our prior speaker said. Language is everything. I'm so happy now when I see our strategic plan. It says what we're going to do, who's going to be in charge, how we're going to measure it, and guess what? Why are we doing it? And when you feel like you're doing something that's purposeful and meaningful, it makes you feel like yes, instead of broken down. So true self, higher purpose, and then this integration. Now, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, is so important. But I would submit there's another I called integration. We are living the most separate lives we've ever lived in human history. And it's up to us, especially leadership, to get out of our offices and make sure that we are integrating with the whole. It's important for us to do a visual scan. Is everybody looking like me, talking like me, thinking like me? And I have found this integration, this purposeful calendar of putting yourself with your people does something that's magical almost, because now we are the same. Titles already create distance, but leadership and integration, being present, truly present, is the bridge. And after that, we get to navigate. A lot of people are just rolling in the desert, right? Walking in the desert. Go to work every day, even if they know why. They know where we're going. And I'm not talking about those pretty posters you put on the wall. I'm not talking about those fancy consultants that make pretty PowerPoints. I'm talking about giving people a sense of direction. And after doing that, paying attention to where the wind's blowing and making sure that you're changing it. And I'd also submit, have more than one meteorologist. My favorite question is to ask this, and I love asking at anniversary luncheons. What are we doing that's stupid? And you know what? They have a big long list. They do. So if I just listen to 3 people that sit in the 16th floor of a Stanton house, I would get one version of the wind blowing, right? But now I get a more complete version. So help people navigate and know, this is why we're going, this is how we're going to get there, and this is how you're going to help me. You're part of this trip. You're part of the journey, and we need you. And then to do that, we have to expand what knowledge meant. What does knowledge mean? You know, I'm so thankful that someone gave me a scholarship to go to law school at WVU, because I couldn't have afforded that. And I'm really thankful for the degrees I have. But I'm a journalism major, a lawyer running an energy company. I've done it for 30 years. Obviously, my knowledge is not what everybody else's knowledge is to make that happen. But we've limited what knowledge is. We've given great esteem to one kind of knowledge and not another kind of knowledge. I promise you, my linemen know as much as my executives, if not more, and a lot of my executives here, and I'm an executive, but we all bring something special. I mentioned my dad was a coal miner, smartest guy I knew, but we value certain knowledge better than others. I was really happy when I was at NYU, and they were doing the diversity test, and the thing they put out to show that some people know other things and other people know other things was a test about West Virginia.
No kidding.
And talked about ramps and hillbillies, yeah. But the point of the whole thing was that knowledge is knowledge. And then there is this thing called knowingness. God, I love data. Don't you love data? We're
Data analytics, and we have to do it. But there's something that goes
along with that used to be revered. The great intellect comes together with the great intuition. There used to be the masculine and the feminine of knowingness, not male or female. And we used to say, okay, I got that. We bring data with something else that's magical and combine our knowledge and expand the concept of it, and we put in there knowing. Now we're having some fun. And then after that, I want to talk about this word, language is everything, that we've eradicated from the workplace. It's not appropriate in the workplace. It's this concept of love. If you don't remember one thing I said today, remember this. If you can't love them, you can't lead them. I mean, get your heart right. Because if you can't love them, you can't lead them. And trust me, I've had to learn to love a lot of people. But I don't get to be CEO and president if I can't love them. That's an entry ticket. And yes, other languages have other words. Everybody goes, oh, we don't want to say love in the workplace. I'll never forget this. I became an operating president when I'd been an M&A lawyer. And I was trying to show, because I felt inadequate, I was trying to show how smart I was. I was sitting at the table spewing stuff off about
Transformers, and let's face it, I don't know about them.
I was trying to pretend I did. And a union leader called me and said, Kelly, I just remember this phrase, and I hope you've heard it. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that was 20 years ago, and I think about it all the time. So there's 4 things I think can help us love better in the workplace. First of all is listening. Put down your cell phone. I was watching the ex-president of Mexico, the ex-prime minister of Canada, and a lot of wonderful, beautiful people.
And here's what everyone was doing, not even being discreet.
You know how you sometimes you go, like this. It's killing our presence. It's so hard now because I can't look at you in the eye anymore. We're not here. Be here now? No. I remember when I was first a lawyer, we'd sit knee to knee. Be here now. And you'd say to me, and I'd say to you, we have to be able to listen and be present. Remember, leaders know themselves and they know others. And that's how I judge leaders' capability. Do they know themselves and they know others? That's first step, and some other things too. But if you don't, it's really hard. So listening. And bring a sense of optimism. Come on, guys, that's a leadership's role. Everyone has now, I think, esteemed being negative. You're this and he's that, and just being critical. This is the most divisive time. There's a song that I like by one of the Marleys that says, you know, the haters are winning, but the lovers aren't done yet. And bringing this sense of optimism, even when it's not pretty, anybody can tear people down. That's easy. Or tear the world down. I would say in El Paso, we have a real reason, so many reasons to be optimistic. Look at this downtown. And that's our job to declare better. Not to say this is wrong, that's wrong. So we got to bring a sense of optimism to a new model of power. And then finally, Brené Brown, everybody know Brené Brown? She made popular vulnerability. And I don't know, I was wrong, I'm sorry, I love you. Those are courageous words. But make them obvious in the workplace so we can all be bozos on the bus, right? We're all just bozos on the bus, really. And I love when people show courage and vulnerability. I was visiting a work site. I had all my FR clothing on. It's a requirement. But I got a call. So I went back to my car, and I'm taking the call. Then I'm running back out to see it because they're trying to set a pole in some neighborhood that I don't know how they got the equipment in that little tiny spot. I was really impressed. So I ran back in, and guess what? Forgot my hard hat. And I'm sitting on the site, and everybody's acting all weird. I don't know what. Finally, an apprentice looked at me and said, Miss Kelly, you got to get off the work site. I'm like, he's telling me to get off my work site? You forgot your hard hat. And so I had to say, you know, I was sorry, I was wrong. And I gave him a safety pin. But making sure people know that's okay and knowing that vulnerability, saying that, man, I got that wrong. I was wrong yesterday. Language is everything. And vulnerability is part, I think, of bringing the right kind of power back in the world of work. And then finally, behind me, I love this, because I work in an industry that has all the best words. Energy, light, power, now charge. But I'm really serious about this one. It's hard to walk into the world of work if you're not inspired, you're broken down, and you cannot be there in a way that is energetically positive. Now, I have problems. My children didn't do his homework. My dad died, and my mother's struggling. We all, because I just talked about vulnerability, have days that are not the best, right? So when I say get your heart right, get our energy right, take care of this self. It's hard to be physically broken down and mentally and emotionally lead in a way that feels like, man, this is Think Love. We're going to do great things together. Your work is meaningful. I see you. I'm not talking about perfection. I'm saying get our energy right and protect it. There's some people that I've had to say goodbye to, or you're going to be a friend over there. Because every time I call you negative, and your negativity is getting all over me, and I can't lead well like that. Then you go into the world of work, guys, let's be a censor. We have a couple sayings, jerks don't work here. We have allowed people to work in corporate America, I know that, and corporate everywhere else because I've worked in corporate other places internationally. Could be the biggest jerks in the world, but they're smart. That's because we bow down to a certain kind of knowledge. The world of work will be painful as long as we let jerks work here. But be a censor. Where is it going wrong? Where is it, develop that sense. where you're looking every day. What's the spirit? What's the engagement? Where are we lifting up? Where are we tearing down? We're in an evolution in the workplace right now. We're giving power to different people. That's a good thing. But it's up to us to manage the energy of our workplace. And I say this is in particular to leaders, but we all have a role. Raise your hand a little higher when things are going wrong. I know I presented this today like it's something new, but
50 years ago,
Martin Luther King said it better than I ever could. Power without love, and we all know that feeling, can be toxic, abusive, and I believe that's why we have a world of work that's sucking the soul out of people. And then love without power, that kind sometimes that you get, it's almost, it can be anemic and sentimental. We need to do powerful things. The world needs us out there really making wrongs right. But when we combine these, El Paso, we create a world of work that works for everybody. We all talk about our talent, and we know its advantage. But think what we'll look like when we unlock it all, we unleash it all, and we do power differently. And when you change the world of work, I promise you, we will change the world. So I will end where I started. A question to everybody in this room. What's the one thing? What's the one step that you could take today and going forward to not only change your life, but to change the lives and the world of work in this city and this region we love, El Paso? Thank you very much. Do power differently.